Hi everyone, welcome to the Mindful Living Podcast. My name is Stephanie Robilio and I'm your host. Here we will have real conversations about what it takes to achieve optimal wellness in mind, body, and spirit. It's one thing to know and it's entirely different to know how. As they say, applied knowledge is power, and on each episode I will teach you how to apply the things you are learning so that you can create the change you seek, heal, recover, and be well now. In case you're wondering, I'm a licensed clinical social worker and the clinical director for Agape Behavioral Healthcare. Fun fact, I'm also a published author. I write poetry and self-help workbooks, which you can find on Amazon or my website. If you are ready to move out of your own way and step into your power, you have landed at the right place. Keep listening and let's do this. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Mindful Living Podcast. As always, I trust you all are doing wonderful and feeling well in mind, body, and spirit. As we begin a new month, it's super wild. I say this every episode. I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing it, but every time I sit down to record a new episode, it's like another month and sometimes a new quarter. So here we are beginning March. And before you know it, first quarter of 2023 will be closing. And with that being said, I thought it would be really helpful to talk about distraction. I think that this is a topic every single human, no matter who you are or where you live in the world, we can relate when it comes to the distractions that we are faced with every single day. And so 7 signs that indicate you or maybe somebody you know or people you work with or loved ones are facing your peak, right? Your maximum distraction. This is the 7 most common signs are struggling to follow through or complete a task, having a hard time reaching a goal or even maybe meeting a deadline at work, finding yourself drifting to social media in the middle of attempting to work on a task. So this could be a work-related task. It could be a chore at home. Maybe when you're doing dishes or trying to do laundry, you find yourself drifting off to social media, which is a sign of distraction. Another sign is staring at the screen and having no idea where to start. I know that this definitely happens to me some days. On the days where I'm not starting off on a mindful tone, which absolutely happens because I'm human, I find that I have almost like this brain fog of where do I begin today? And so that can be a sign. And then another one is difficulty completing sentences. So I don't know if you can relate, but I've definitely had moments in my life when I'm trying to juggle multiple things at once, which by the way is impossible. I'm going to get to that later on and talk about that. But I have found that when I'm trying to do many things at once, it's like I have so many tabs open in my head, and then somebody will ask me a question and I can't even finish the sentence because there's too many things going on at once. So that's a sign of distraction. Oftentimes when a person's experiencing distraction, you can notice that there's issues with short memory. It's not as good as it usually is. So forgetting the things that are happening day to day. Also becoming easily agitated, flustered, or overwhelmed. And then this is a big one, interrupting others in conversation. So again, if you're anything like me, I'm doing a lot of self-disclosing in this episode, which is okay. But if you're anything like me, this is something that I have to consciously pay attention to and work on. I move so fast. So even though I meditate daily, I practice pausing with purpose, I choose to be mindful and intentional, even doing all of those things, I still move fast. I think it's just innate. It's my natural energy. And what I have found happens is that if I'm not paying attention, somebody could be talking to me and I'll totally interrupt. And it's like that orange ball or squirrel moment. And, not only can it come across as I'm not listening to that person, it's also just it's not good practice of any style of communication or being. And it really is an indicator that in my case, I'm being distracted. And if you relate, you're distracted. And again, I think it goes back to having too many tabs open in our head. So, I shared those 7 signs because I really think that as we are at this point in time and space, beginning a new month, a new opportunity, This new opportunity brings fresh perspective, fresh starts, new chances, new beginnings, all that energy, right? I really, really believe that the start of a new month invites incredible energy for us to use in a way that serves our highest and best self. But if we don't take a moment to check in with ourselves, which I often talk about, then it's really difficult to tap into that high energy in a way that's going to propel us forward. And so I thought talking about distractions today would offer you all insight to check in with yourself and just ask, am I distracted? And if you related to those 7 things that I just named off, then it's likely you are distracted. And the reason, it's interesting because we're living in this day and age where all of us carry this cell phone. And as much as this cell phone is incredible because we can stay in contact with our loved ones, we can run an entire business from our cell phone. There's so many things that the cell phone and technology offers us. But it's like that old saying, it's a blessing and a curse. So a blessing for the reasons I just named off, but it's a curse because it's distracting us more than ever. Because the second the phone rings, we feel like we have to answer it. The second we receive an email, we feel like we have to respond. When we see those notifications coming in, whether it's from text messages, WhatsApp, or social platforms, we feel like we have to respond or check, and that's distracting us. It takes us off track. And the reason distractions are so seductive or inviting is because the human brain craves constant stimulation and immediate gratification. So this can be an absolute killer when it comes to trying to stay on task or meet a goal or stay focused on whatever it is that you're doing. Because when, again, that phone's beeping or ringing, we respond because in the response, we think we're going to get this instant gratification. And yes, we might receive instant gratification. However, the long-term impacts are not good because the amount of time that's being wasted by checking the phone is unbelievable. And not to mention, there's this constant noise in the background. So even if you wake up and you say, you know what, today's the day, I'm going to stay on task, I'm going to stay focused. It's like we always know the second we look at our phone or pick up our phone or check our email, like a million things pop up. And then it's only human of us to get distracted in that process. And we've been conditioned to believe multitasking is heroic. I talk about this often and I relate with it because it's like we've been conditioned to think the more we do, the better we are. And that's not the case. That's not at all the case. We have gone people have gone years claiming our ability to do as much as possible as a victory. And what I find to be really interesting is that the basics of neuroscience tells us that multitasking is actually a false idea. There's been tons and tons of research around this that shows it's not possible for the brain. And here's why. When we're focused on one task at a time, the left and right side of the prefrontal cortex, that front part of our brain, works together in tandem. And that's how we're able to stay on track and complete tasks. But when we try to multitask, the left and right sides of the prefrontal cortex attempt to work independently. And even though it feels like we're doing multiple things at once, we're actually switching between the left and right side. And so this switch from the left and right side of the brain actually takes a fraction of a second. It sounds like it's not a big deal, right? A fraction of a second sounds like, well, who cares? It's only a very, 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 very small amount. But microseconds add up. And the more we distract ourselves by trying to multitask, we lose time, right? Those little seconds add up to be minutes. The minutes add up to be hours. Before you know it, the hours a day, a week, a month, months. And in some extreme cases, years go by for some people and no real progress has been made. And there could be a numerous amount of reasons why no real progress has been made. But sometimes it's because we're simply just distracted and we rob ourselves of the greatest gift we've ever been given, which is time. And so I find that to be completely fascinating. I also find it to be completely motivating, inspiring, and empowering to truly carve out specific time to stay focused on one task, one goal, one thing at a time. There's also this recent data that shows people are becoming addicted to distractions. I also find this interesting because if you've been connected with me, you know that I work in the field of mental health and addiction, specifically addiction to alcohol and or drugs. But I think that now more than ever, it's really important for us to talk about the fact that people are addicted to everything. No longer is it acceptable to put people struggling with addiction or alcoholism in their own box. I think that this is people problems. I think that it doesn't matter who you are, we can relate to addiction in some sort, and especially with this new data around distractions, because I strongly believe that every single one of us is distracted, whether you are the stay-at-home mom trying to keep up with mom life, the working parent trying to raise a family and maintain the responsibilities of work. Maybe you're the person who's working for a company and also building your own brand, doing the entrepreneur thing like myself. Like no matter who you are, we're facing it in some way or another. And what's interesting is that the research around becoming addicted to distraction is showing all this evidence about something referred to as the compulsive pull. And what this means is that we now more than ever are being taken off track with responsibilities. There's countless hours being wasted because of this compulsive pull, which I keep using the phone as an example, but that's simply because it's our biggest distraction. It's like, when you start your day and you sit down and you're getting ready to respond to that email, but then your phone rings and you take the call, right? That's what it means to become almost a victim of the compulsive pull because you gave in to the phone ringing, right? And this is a barrier to people's ability to stay focused and on track. There's also a lot of data that shows that social media platforms drive surges to dopamine to the brain. So what that means is that the same area in the brain, the reward center, is being activated by social media, because every time a person checks their phone and they hit that Instagram icon and they see new likes and they see messages in the DM and they want to click their story to see how many little eyes are popping up, or they check their real insights, all of that, like that whole process, dopamine is being released in the brain. And as you may or may not know, but we crave that, right? We want to feel good, and dopamine helps us to feel good. So we keep going back thinking it's going to help us to feel good. But again, like I said a moment ago, that feeling of good is short-lived. It's literally only in the moment. And when you look at the whole picture, losing those seconds, those moments, checking social media, which keeps you from really staying focused on the goal that you're working towards or the dream that you're working on, it's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. And so, there's endless access to new information, and it's also showing that overloads of new information that we get through the internet, it really takes away our ability to stay on track, and it can even cost us our memory. It can cost us our memory. And I think that that's really important to highlight, because we get one life in this lifetime, and every single moment of every single day matters. What we choose to do moment to moment matters. And I highlight the word choose because every moment offers an opportunity to choose different, to choose better. And so by no means am I discounting how hard it is to manage distractions. I know it's hard because I deal with this every single day. But something that I recommit to every day is the power of being intentional, which means to wake up and claim, today's the day I choose to move at a pace that feels good to me. Today's the day that I choose to stay focused on one thing at a time, right? It's about giving ourselves permission to do one thing at a time and completely dissolving this idea that we have to juggle so many things at once, because we don't. We don't. I talk about a lot how we are the creators of our reality. We get to create the experience, whether it's as simple as responding to emails, returning phone calls, or doing some bigger role in your life. It doesn't matter what it is you're doing. You are the creator of that experience. And there is nothing more powerful than a person who is able to stay calm and focus on one thing at a time, despite what's happening around them. This is something that I'm actively practicing. I find it to be the next superpower that I will claim, the ability to stay calm no matter what is happening in the external world, right? There's that quote that I love and I live by. It says, if you can change the world inside you, then you can change the world around you. And so as we begin this new month, I really, really invite you all to join me in choosing to stay calm no matter what comes your way. And do not give distractions power over you. Stay connected to your own power. Choose to be in alignment. Know when to say no. Know when to let go. Being calm is your superpower. So join me in this superpower. And as always, know that I am forever beaming light and love to you all. I believe in each of you. And thank you so very much for tuning in with me. Until the next time. Thank you for joining me today. If you found today's episode to be insightful and inspiring, subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one. And I kindly ask that you please leave me a review so together we can help the next person. To learn more about my products and services, check out www.themindfulliving.com and come connect with me on Instagram at mindfulliving.now, where I share daily inspiration, mindful skills, tips, and more. Until the next episode, stay mindful and always remember the power that lives inside of you.